Hello. Right, I just want to do a quick video. It may not be that quick, but we'll see how we get through it. Uh, Detailing and documenting my road to my holiday in August and the fitness journey that I'm on after having taken, well, about 4 years off exercise due to a chronic back issue that I suffer with. But as of the 10th of March, I started to get back into my fitness journey slowly but surely. And basically, I have 21 weeks from the 10th of March. I'm in week 11 now to try and get myself into better shape than I was in. I'd never ever let myself go the way I had. I'd never had such a prolonged period of exercise. Typically, I had trained my whole life, really, from my whole adult life anyway, from the age of 18 all the way through to 40, where I would train probably 5 times a week on average across those 22 years. So to go 4 years basically doing nothing just because I felt so debilitated and restricted, yeah, it took its toll on my body, that's for sure. So I sort of went from being in pretty good shape and looking in pretty good shape to looking skinny fat, which is never a good look. So I never really put on weight around my neck and things like that. So, but it definitely goes on my belly. So my journey back has been really to try and strip some of the fat off my body. That's the end goal, anyway. The initial goal was really just to get moving again, and to be moving without restriction and take it one day at a time to see how I can progress. A key part of that, a key component, was walking. So I'm making sure that I'm sort of getting my 10,000 steps daily. I'm trying to approach those 10,000 steps with a bit of vigor, trying to work up a bit of a sweat as I'm walking. I walk pretty fast anyway, certainly faster than most people. It's very rare I find someone on my walks who actually walks past me. So, so yeah, that's the sort of approach. So it really is quite fitness orientated, but I can't run because of the compressing effect that has on your body. Just because of the issue I have in my lower back. So anything that compresses me, I have to try and avoid at all costs, or I will suffer the consequences after. So anyway, I'm in week 11 now. It's the 21st of May, and I'll give a breakdown of what I've done in terms of my walking for the last. I'll give the last 10 weeks because they're all full weeks. We're only on day 3 of week 11 at the moment. It's Wednesday. But my average steps, okay, in week 1, so this was week commencing the 10th of March 2025. So I did 73,000 steps that week. In week 2, I did 73,000, just over. Week 3, I did just under 96,000 steps. In week 4, I did it's 106,000 steps. I was going to say just under 106, but it's 105,956, so we'll call it 106,000. Week 5, 88,000 steps. Week 6, 80,000 steps. Week 7, 96,000 steps. Week 8, this was my big week. I turned 45 in this week, and I did just under 131,000 steps that week, with certainly a modern record for me, certainly in the last, 10, 15 years. I did 34,000 steps on my birthday. So, and that was a hot day, certainly here in England. It was 27 degrees on that day, on May the 1st. So that's quite a few steps to be doing when my body isn't conditioned for that. But that was a good week anyway. So week 8 of the journey, yeah, just under 131,000 steps. Week 9, I did 75,000 steps. Week 10, I did 97,000 steps, and we're on week 11 now, just 2 days in. I did 15,000 steps on Monday, just over 13,000 steps yesterday, and today I need to go and get my walking done. But so I'm taking that approach where I'm trying to average 10,000 steps each day across the week, across the month, and as it stands, I'm averaging more than that. Certainly over the month, quite a bit more. And that is keeping me mobile, which is enabling me to also do a lot of resistance training on top of that. Now, in terms of my approach to my resistance training, I'm just going to bring up my breakdown for my muscle endurance calendar. So I started off doing muscle endurance on, again, the 10th of March. So that was week 1. I did a 6-week muscle endurance phase. The key part of that is because if you're looking at a training cycle, training phases, it works in a pyramid fashion where muscle endurance is on the bottom, muscle building or hypertrophy is next, then strength and power as you go up that pyramid. Now, I'm only planning to work in the muscle endurance and the hypertrophy phase. I don't require specific approaches to strength or power. I mean, I will get stronger throughout the routines I'm doing, but I don't need to dial it down to those short reps, really long rest periods, and specifically try and aim for a strength goal, because I just find that is something that I've done phases of over the years, but I don't need to do that at this stage of my life. At this stage of my life, mobility is key, muscle endurance and fitness are key, trying to improve my resting heart rate, trying to get the excess fat that I've accumulated over the last 4 years stripped down as much as possible. But also, my aim has been to add weight, because I started off, I'm just under 6'2", and on week 1, I was 75.9 kilos, which is pretty light. Let's say 76 kilos. That would be 167 pounds in weight. So that's quite light. And I had a belly with that as well, which is terrible. So really, I wanted to add a decent amount of weight. My goal was really to get myself up to about 85 kilos before I then try and strip things down. So in combination with the workouts I've been doing, I've been eating a lot of food. I'm keeping it pretty clean, pretty healthy, but I am eating a lot. I'm eating regularly, 5 to 7 times a day typically. I don't really drop below 5. That does include protein shakes as well. So I will be having, I pretty much have 2 protein shakes a day. But that certainly helps to get that protein intake into me, because I'm trying to keep it close to about 200 grams of protein a day. And for the most part, I'm there or thereabouts. So on week 1, I've given all the breakdown of the walking and the steps I've done each week. But if we go back to week 1, the 10th of March, 2025, I started with the muscle endurance phase of training as well on a 6-week program. Now, I didn't start it. That was an idea in my head, right? Let's see if we can. It was really just see if we can get through a session to start off with without any injuries, without feeling like I'm restricted in the aftermath of these workouts. Let's see how my back holds up. So I would try and do exercises that didn't add a lot of pressure to my back. But I still wanted to get a good workout, a good sweat on. I still wanted to stimulate the muscles. I wanted to fatigue them. And I wanted to try and get through a 6-week muscle endurance phase, at which point I would then reassess and see, do I feel ready to go into a muscle building phase with slightly more intense workouts in terms of the weights that I would be lifting. So on week 1, I did 4 muscle endurance sessions with 1 cardio session, and I had 2 active rest days. By active rest, I just mean I was getting my steps in. I'm getting my steps in every day, but on days when I don't do a targeted muscle endurance workout, where I'm using resistance exercises, I make sure that I'm walking as well. So I did 1 leg workout, 1 chest workout, 1 back workout. I did a cardio routine. I took an active rest day. I did an abdominal routine, and I took another active rest day. That was on week 1. I did bodyweight squats for legs. I did bodyweight press-ups for chest. For back, I did bent over dumbbell rows with a very like comedy weights. I think I was just using the 9 kilo dumbbells, but again, it's a bent over dumbbell row. I was doing it from standing position, and that is load bearing on, the lower part of my back. So I was a little bit apprehensive about doing that type of movement, which is why I went so light, because those things can really affect my lower back. As it happens, it was okay, but in the aftermath of that, I decided there's probably better approaches than me standing up doing and sort of bending forward slightly to get in that start position, and then going through all the rounds, because all of these workouts were 30-minute workouts. I would pick a certain number of reps to do each minute. I would do those reps, and I would repeat that set every single minute for 30 minutes. And then my cardio, I just did half an hour on my max trainer. It's similar to a cross trainer. And my abdominal routine was hanging bar knee raises. So I'd hang off a bar, hold on, hang off the bar, and then bring my knees up as high as I could to my chest, or certainly above my hip level. And I'd do that on the minute every minute for 30 minutes. So this was the sort of approach I took for the first 6 weeks. Week 2, I had 2 active rest days, and I also worked out my chest, my back, my triceps, my biceps, my upper back, and my legs. But my triceps, biceps, and upper back I did in 1 routine on 1 day. Just getting high volume for it. I think I just did 10 minutes on each of those body parts, picking 1 different exercise for each of the body parts, certain amount of reps each minute, and keeping it to short rest periods. Week 3, I had 3 active rest days that week. I did work my abs, my shoulders, my legs, and on one of the days I did back and biceps. Week 4, I worked out on 5 of the days, 2 active rest days. I worked legs and abs on one of the days, worked chest on another, biceps on another, shoulders and biceps on another day. Obviously trying to get a couple of bicep small little workouts in. And I did triceps on another day. Week 5, I had 2 active rest days. I worked legs, abs and biceps on one day, chest, shoulders, and then back. And finally on week 6, I had 1 active rest day, and I had 1 rest day where I don't think I got my steps in on that day. I got some steps, but I don't think I got my 10,000 steps, and I didn't do a workout. That was actually on Easter Sunday, so that was on the 20th of April. But on that week, I worked out triceps on one day, legs on another, shoulders on another, biceps and abs on another, and chest on another day. And that then completed my 6-week muscle endurance phase. It was all high reps, short rest periods. But by the end of that, I was feeling pretty good. And week on week, I'd been improving the amount of reps I'd been doing on the exercises that I'd chosen to approach the routines with. I kept them fairly similar week on week, so I could then directly measure my improvements, and things were going in the right direction. So at that point, I felt, well, I want to go into hypertrophy, depending on how you want to say it, for 8 to 10 weeks, and that's a muscle building phase. So to break that down, that started week 1, which would have been week 7 of my training program from the time I'd started. But week 1 of my hypertrophy phase, I started on the 21st of April, and the first week I did forearms on one day, legs the next, chest the next, abs the next, back the next, and shoulders the day after. So I worked out for 6 days that week, and I had an active rest day on the Sunday. Week 2, I think that must have taken a bit of a toll on week 1, because on week 2 I worked out triceps and forearms on one day. I did legs on the next, chest on the next. I took 2 active rest days, one of which was my birthday, where I did 34,000 steps on that day. I did back and biceps after those 2 active rest days, and then I took another active rest day. So I had 3 active rest days that week. 4 of the days I was doing hypertrophy workouts. Week 3 would be, I did shoulders and abdominals on one day, triceps the next, forearms and abs and legs the next day. 3 separate workouts, which is pretty intense. I then took 2 active rest days, and then I worked out my chest, and then the next day I did back and biceps. And now week 4 of hypertrophy, so I keep mixing up. Hypertrophy is how I want to say it. My friend gets really frustrated and says, it's hypertrophy. Why are you saying hypertrophy? It's because when I requalified as a PT, one of my tutors was an American chap, American bodybuilder, and that's how he said it, hypertrophy. And I just got used to saying it like that. But yeah, on week 4 of my hypertrophy phase, which is now week 10 since I've started back exercising, I worked out shoulders, took an active rest day the next day, then worked out legs, next day worked out triceps and abdominals, then I took an active rest day, worked out back and biceps, and then took another active rest day. So I had 3 active rest days that week. I tweaked my shoulder in the shoulder routine, like my mid-delt on my right shoulder, and that is one of the reasons why I had 3 active rest days, and that seemed to do the job. That seemed to help my shoulder heal up, because now we're in week 5 of hypertrophy, and I did chest and triceps on Monday, so on the 19th of May, and that was a brilliant workout, a fantastic workout, the best workout that I've done in these last 10 weeks. And I made some significant improvements in my strength from the previous week. I think on my heavier set, on the flat dumbbell press, last week on my heavy set, I got 6 reps, and I was failing on 6 reps. And this week I got 11 reps, which is a huge increase on the same weight. So that's a huge increase week on week. I almost doubled the amount of reps, going to failure on both occasions. Obviously I could do more, I could push it harder if I had a training partner, but I train on my own. So really, once I hit concentric failure, and I'm pretty in tune with where that is, if I might be able to push out another rep, but I'll be contorting my body to get these reps out, and that's at the point you're going to start pulling muscles or tweaking things in your body. So what I'll always do, once I struggle on that final rep where I still am able to maintain my form, but it's a struggle, it's a slow concentric on the way up, just because I don't have the power or the strength to push it up at a normal pace, but I'm focusing on keeping form. I will then make sure I go as slow as I can eccentrically when I lower the weight down. And that's the way I try and deplete a little bit more out of the muscles, so that I will get um, more soreness in the aftermath of the workouts, because you do want muscle soreness. That's your way of measuring whether you're getting gains. So I'm finding that we call it DOMS. It's delayed onset of muscle soreness, and that is your roadmap to understanding whether you're going in the right direction. If you don't feel sore after your workouts, maybe not immediately after your workouts, you should feel fairly pumped if you're doing hypertrophy workouts. The muscles should feel a little bit fatigued, but you wouldn't be actually sore and aching in the immediate aftermath. And depending on how conditioned you are when you're doing these workouts, maybe it's 2 days after the workout that you start feeling sore. Maybe it's 3 days later. It wouldn't normally be 3, but you'll start feeling a bit of soreness maybe 2 days later, and then 3 days it's even more sore, and then maybe you're starting to recover on day 4 or 5 after those individual workouts. So the muscle groups you worked will start to feel better. On week 1 of any program, if you haven't done these things before and you push yourself close to failure on these exercises, you'll be aching the next day, and you'll probably ache for a whole week on those muscle groups. But once you recover, the next time you go and do those workouts, it will take you half the time to recover. So maybe you only ache for a few days. And then the time after that, maybe there's only a small ache for a day or 2. And then you're starting to look at, right, okay, so I need to push myself a little bit harder on certain exercises or on certain of the movements, or I need to slow it down on the eccentric phase a lot more. I need to try and deplete the muscles more in the sets I'm doing, in order that I continue to ache in the aftermath of these workouts. And if I'm aching, I know I'm changing the shape of the muscles. And then through your nutrition, you're determining whether you're adding size, whether you're losing size, but either way, you're going to be toning and shaping the muscle groups that you're sore on. And for me, I've been trying to do a weight gain program as well. So I'm going to add some information, or just let you know where I'm at with that. My weekly weight. So the first time I didn't weigh myself on the 10th of March. I weighed myself on Monday the 17th of March. That was the first week I weighed myself, and I was 75.9 kilos. As I say, I'm trying to put on weight. So let's call that week 1 of my weight gain program. So that started on the 17th of March. So week 2, I was 76.7 kg. So I added 0.8 kilos that week. Week 3, 77.6 kilos, so I added 0.9 kilos that week. The next week I was 78.2 kilos, so I'd added another 0.6 kilograms. The week following that I was 79.4 kilos, so I'd added 1.2 kilograms that week. And that week, I believe I started to include creatine into my diet. So I started to add a bit of creatine to my protein shakes. I'm just doing about 5 grams of creatine a day, and I didn't do a loading phase or anything like that, just 5 grams a day, and I'm continuing to do that to this day. Good for the energy levels, good for water retention, apparently it's good for cognitive function, so I need a bit of that. The week following that, I was 80.5 kilos, so I'd added another 1.1 kilograms that week. The week following that, I was exactly the same weight, 80.5 kilos, which I found very strange because I was still eating 5 to 7 times every day, same types of foods that I'd been eating for the previous, whatever it was, 6 or so weeks. and I didn't put on any weight. I mean, I had a pretty good week of doing quite a lot of steps, so maybe that contributed a bit, but it seemed odd. It just seemed a bit odd that I didn't put on any weight. And I'm weighing myself on a Monday morning, first thing in the morning, before breakfast, just in my underwear. It's not a pretty sight, I'm sure, but that's how I'm doing it anyway. Try and keep it consistent, and then I can tell if real change is occurring. Anyway, the week on from not adding any weight on, which was, let's say, week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That was week 7. That was the beginning of week 7 of me monitoring my weight. Beginning of week 8, I was 81 kilos, so I managed to add half a kilo in the preceding week. The next week, I was 82.2 kilos, so I added another 1.2 kilos that week. And on Monday this week, I was 82.7 kilograms. So I added another half a kilo last week. So we're now on Wednesday this week. I've eaten a decent amount of food the last couple of days, much the same as I have every day of this program. I'm going to keep pushing and try and get myself to, around 85 kilos, maybe north. I'm going to do it for the next, because I'm in week 5 now of my hypertrophy training, and I'm planning to do 9 weeks in hypertrophy. I'm only saying that it would normally be like 10, but I want to have at least 5 weeks of muscle endurance after that on the lead up to my holiday, at which point I'm going to change my diet, and I'll be eating as regularly, but I won't necessarily be eating the volume of like starchy carbohydrates and things like that. I want to try and force my body into burning more fats. And with vegetables, I'm basically just going to eat them raw. I find raw broccoli is a brilliant way to burn fat on your body. So it's not the most enjoyable, but douse a bit of olive oil on it, a bit of salt and pepper, that type of stuff. And you'll be good to go. It's all right. Once you can get used to eating raw broccoli, you can eat pretty much anything. Apart from kale, I am not a fan of kale or rocket. I don't like those things. To me, that is rabbit food. But there's so many other choices out there. I eat a lot of spinach, so we're good to go. But as I say, I'll be dialing in the nutrition in the final sort of 5 weeks leading up to the holiday. Going away at the beginning of August. So by that point I would have done a 6-week muscle endurance phase at the beginning, 9 weeks of hypertrophy, so I've got this week plus another 4 weeks of hypertrophy. I'm going to take a week off after that, like completely off weights or resistance training, and I will do a lot of walking. No doubt I'll try and get over 100,000 steps that week, so let's say average out to 15,000 steps a day. If I get more, great. I don't want to really get less, because I still want to have some fat burning going on. And if you're doing that many steps at a decent pace, then you're going to be getting fat burning, and you're going to do it without any of the impact that something like running would cause. So, because running can cause, stress hormones to get released, because there is a lot of impact when you run. And for me, I'm trying to minimize anything that adds impact. So, just for longevity and maintaining my mobility, my movement, and reducing the amount of pain in my back, really. And then after that 1 week off, I will do 5 weeks of muscle endurance, and that is that's when I'll be dialing in my diet and trying to make it more of a fat burning diet. I'll still try and get all the protein in every day, but I expect to be losing weight from the point I start that. So essentially from the 1 week that I take off and do a load of walking, plus the 5 weeks of muscle endurance I plan to do after that 6-week period, I'm going to start dialing that diet in. Because I find any real change in your diet, it takes roughly 4 weeks for it to really start kicking into effect and for your body to become more efficient at converting the fats on your body into energy. So that's what I plan to do. So I want to give it at least 4 weeks, because often you won't see much change in the 4 weeks, and then it'll be in that next week following it, in week 5, week 6, suddenly your body is just stripping the fat off you. And that's what I want, just on the lead up to going away. Because no doubt I'll be eating, well, not very strict when I'm on holiday. I don't like to add that type of restriction onto myself if I'm away with family, enjoying myself. It sort of takes the fun out of it, really. So while I won't eat terribly, sometimes these things are a bit out of your control when you're out of the country, and you haven't got a good source of food. And I won't have my protein shakes and all that type of stuff, so I'll probably be trying to get my food from whatever the buffet offers where you're at the hotel you're staying in. So we'll see how this all goes, but that's where we're at the moment. We're on week 5 of hypertrophy, 6 weeks of muscle endurance prior to that, 4 more weeks of hypertrophy to go, 1 week rest, active rest with just walking, and 5 more weeks of muscle endurance after that. And that should bring me into the first week of August, right at the beginning of August, ready to go on holiday and hopefully be in some reasonable shape. And fingers crossed we stay injury free, and I listen to my body. I will be listening to my body as I go. If I get certain injuries, then I'm going to have to, adapt on the fly and do what I feel is right to improve the injury, get it better, while still, working towards my goals. So anyway, I know this was long-winded and rambling, but I just wanted to get you up to date with where I'm at, and then I can do a lot shorter videos. Well, maybe they might not be shorter, because I might start posting some of the actual workouts that I'm doing as I'm on my road to my holiday fitness, holiday body program. So anyway, look, have a great day. I'm sorry it's so rambling and long-winded, but this is more really so I can document my journey, and at some point down the line show my son the types of things that I was doing, because my son's only 6 at the moment, so he's not too interested in all of this. But anywho, have a lovely week, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care of yourself. Cheers. Bye-bye.